good, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Respect Coin. I'm your host, Michael Bolling. Super excited to get back in the saddle. The NFL season's over. The NBA season's heating up. We're getting close to the playoffs. We're getting close to March. A lot of stuff to look forward to. Got a lot of fun episodes and shows coming down the pipe, but just because the NFL season is over doesn't mean we can't find things to bet. So happy to jump right back in. Let's look at the good, the bad, and the ugly as we always do. Getting right into it. Let's start with the good. So we've been off for a couple weeks. The last episode we had was surrounded by the NBA All-Star game, NBA All-Star weekend, and I should just make this my ugly because they really should just throw the whole weekend in the trash at this point. We did win some bets. We did lose some bets. This Team Spurs thing in the skills challenge was a total abomination, but I'm glad we were able to take a week off because I don't really want to talk about it. So this week, the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good being I've hit some NBA parlays recently, nothing crazy. I think one of the things that you can do now because football is over is just like over-index on betting NBA. It's really hard to handicap the NBA. People are sitting out every night. The motivation for some teams, obviously, to get Cooper Flag is really starting to take shape. So you might get lackluster efforts on some sides on various nights. So you got to be careful. But I've been pretty successful the last 2 weeks. Nothing to complain about, nothing to get too high about, but wins are wins. And obviously it's important to be getting that done. Not enough to be withdrawing lots of money from the account, but definitely haven't made any deposits recently. And if you know ball and you bet frequently, you know how important it is to not be pumping your credit or debit card into those apps because it's a slippery slope. So I'll take the wins where I can get them. Been happy with the output, and hopefully we can keep it rolling. The bad, I'm recording this in the last week of February, obviously, and I don't have any real clue how to handicap college basketball at the moment. March is literally a few days away, and it's time to get in the lab because March Madness will be here before we know it. We're going to have conference tournaments here pretty soon. That's a good indicator, in my opinion, of what these teams will look like in March. Really, some of the best teams that go far in the tournament are the ones that get hot in these conference tournaments. You can steal automatic bids by winning these conference tournaments. So moving into a really fun time on the sports calendar for bettors. I can feel it now. Just the betting at 11 a.m. at the office on that first Thursday is going to be awesome. So we're really close, but the bad, obviously, got to get myself in the lab and start figuring out what these kids are doing before I start putting real money on college basketball. And finally, the ugly. I've been on this mission on Fanatic Sportsbook. I finally signed up and they gave me 10 no sweat bets up to $100. And I've been like seesawing. I think I hit one during All-Star weekend. And, that was a nice little chunk of change because it was a $100 bet. But I've been kind of like staying afloat the times that I've used it and have missed. I've put them on some like pretty solid moonshots trying to rob the bank, and I just haven't gotten it yet. So I've used 5. I got 5 left. I got until the 31st of March to use them. I'm thinking I'll use a couple of them on some long shot futures parlays, but that takes even more lab work. So it's ugly. I should have hit for 1,000 or something like that by now. I don't know if that's even fair, but that's the goal. Hit a 10-1 with one of these and make out with 1,000. But I haven't done it yet. So it's been ugly on FanDuel or on Fanatic Sportsbook, but again, haven't been depositing. Very much fluid situation there. So as we always do, that's the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I've mentioned, obviously, the NFL season is over, but that doesn't mean that you can't bet, and that doesn't mean that you can't bet on the NFL. So NFL betting is back this week officially with the NFL Combine. Spent a couple days there with my guy 𝗦𝗍𝗶. He is a Combine veteran, showed me the ropes, introduced me to a lot of folks, had the lay of the land, and we did come back with lots of good content. So I'll get into my experience at the Combine a little later on. It was a really fun opportunity. But just so you know, you can bet on the NFL Combine, but it does depend on where you reside. So, for example, I was frantically checking every day in Indianapolis, no markets available. That kind of makes sense. The whole competition, the whole shebang is in Indianapolis. If you want this thing to be clean, don't allow people to bet while they're there. A lot of people with inside information, whether you're a fan or you're an employee, and we see how things are working out with a lot of these employees who have been betting on these markets. So obviously not available in Indy, but definitely available in Illinois. Obviously, I'm based in Chicago. A lot of the listeners here are probably based in Chicago. So we do have the liberty of betting on the NFL Combine, and I'm pumped to do it. But a disclaimer, as I do frequently on this show, this is another event where it's not worth betting lots of money. If you have inside information, this is the part of the show where I'm going to tell you, I'm winking, do not tell anyone about it unless it's like your closest friends and you know that they're steel traps. Don't get in trouble for this. If you got a scoop, run with it yourself. But obviously not something that is for sure. Obviously, all these guys are trying to show their best, do their best, but injuries happen. Obviously, we knock on wood that doesn't happen for any of these guys trying to make it to the next level, but not something that I would recommend betting lots of money on. Have some fun, drop a few bucks, and enhance the viewing experience. So there's lots of markets definitely on FanDuel and DraftKings. So take a peek. Some of the markets include, will any combine drill record be broken? Who will have the fastest 40 time overall? Who will have the fastest 40 time by position? There's a lot of fun stuff to look at, obviously. And, some of the ones that stick out to me is, will there be a record broken for the fastest 3-cone drill? That last record is 6.28 seconds. That happened in 2018, cornerback Justin Thomas. So obviously been a handful of years since that record has been broken. And then, the fastest 20-yard shuttle, that's another fun one. That record's 3.75 seconds. That record was last broken in 2004, cornerback Dontae Robinson. So these are really fun drills. If you've watched the NFL Combine before, it's a really fun way to, distract yourself a little bit at work, because it's a very quiet event. You're not hearing lots of background noise. You're getting a lot of insights from reporters. They're talking to coaches. They're talking to players. Perfect background situation. So I'll have some picks for that at the end of the show. But right now, I'm really excited to bring in a special guest. He's one of the homies from work. Missouri State and 4th round tight end pick of the Eagles in 2010. None other than local guy made good, Clay Harbor. He's one of the smartest football guys I know. Really good insights. He appears on the Charter podcast with my guy 𝗵𝗶 and 𝗬𝗨 Polinsky. Does a really phenomenal job for us over at CHSN. So getting an opportunity to talk to someone who participated in the NFL Combine, it's going to be really fun. He's gracious with his time, and I'm really excited to bring him in. So take a listen. Finally got a special guest here on Respect Coin, and it is none other than the homie Clay Harbor. Drafted in 2010, so had his combine experience himself. What's up, man? How's it going, brother?
It's good, man. Love the combine. I was one of those guys that came into the combine, was a little bit lesser known, but after the combine, when I jumped 40 inches, Mike, I bench pressed 30 reps, a 225, had a 4.6 flat 40, got it down to 4.55 in my pro day, and jumped 10.5 broad jump. people started to realize, okay, this kid may be from a small school, but he's an athlete. Maybe he can play. So it's an important time for a lot of players, especially the smaller school guys, the guys that are flying under the radar right now. It's a chance for you to really go out there and compete against the guys next to you and really catch the eye of these NFL personnel men, because they're all there. GMs, coaches, scouts. I mean, this is one event where everybody's at. Everybody ain't at the senior bowl. Everybody's not at the East-West Shrine game. Everybody's now at your game when you're playing against Ohio State or playing against where they're all here. So it's a chance for you to get in front of the right people, put on a show, and show them that you are athletic enough to play in the league.
Yeah, I mean, I actually got my first taste of covering the combine this week with Shapiro, and what I've watched on TV, it does not tell the story. Like you just mentioning that everybody is there, like literally everyone is there for that week in Indianapolis. It feels like there's no normal people in town. It's just all NFL personnel. So along those lines, like I think every single scrum, if we did an over under for how many times people asked, did you meet with the Bills? Did you meet with the Steelers? Did you meet with the Raiders? It's like, I'm sure they met with everyone if they're here. So any stories from your time meeting with teams or coaches or GMs over there?
Yeah, I met with a bunch of teams. One of the first things that come to mind is when I met with Bill Belichick at the combine. And I mean, guys just have different strategies. They have different techniques, and Bill was just all business. Like, so what front do you think this is? What coverage is?
He's just talking ball right away.
Just ball. And then you got like the Jets, Rex Ryan. You come in there, he's like, hey, Clay, what's up, man? How you doing? How's the family? Where are you from? He's starting to find out about you, trying to gauge your personality, maybe have some fun and see what you are. And then it's just so different between each team. And when you walk into these meeting rooms, there's these breakout rooms and there's the team name on the door. You walk in there, like when I met with the Seahawks. I mean, Pete Carroll sitting right there. You got their GM, you got their offensive coordinator, you got all their scouts. I mean, there's everybody in this room asking you questions. They're going to pull up your game film. They'll say, okay, what do you say about this play right here? What do you say about this play? What happened here? They're going to pull up some good plays, some bad plays. So you're going to have an answer for both of them. And they're going to ask you, well, what coverage is this? What made you run this in instead of an out? And I had some good interviews and I had some bad interviews. I had a really good one with the Jets. I thought my interview with the Patriots wasn't very good. Maybe that's why they drafted Gronk and Hernandez that year, not me. I don't know. But it all depends on the team and the organization of how they run things.
So I know you mentioned off the top, what you were able to do there. I somehow didn't know that you had the most reps of anyone in the bench press. You said 30?
30 reps, most reps for a 5-year span of tight ends. Not just my year, but a 5-year span. No tight end had more reps than me. Bench press, baby.
Okay, so when you left Indianapolis that week and you realized that you had the record, like, what did that feel like to you? Because I would be telling everyone. I would be shouting it from the mountaintops.
I was ticked off because I wanted to do better. I did well, but it wasn't like I knew I was going to do that. It was just a lot of people that were watching didn't. I knew I had the bunnies to get up to 40, and people, when they see it, they're, oh, wow, this guy. It's like, it wasn't like a surprise, bench press.
Right.
I knew that I could do that. It wasn't like I just all of a sudden threw up 30 reps out of nowhere. I didn't know what the other guys were going to do. I thought there's probably going to be some other guys throw up 30 reps. My broad jump, I thought I could have did better. My 40, I definitely could have did better. And, as an athlete, you always want to be the best. And for me, I left
for sure
disappointed, actually. And people were like, oh, Clay Harbor crushed the com. I'm like, man, no, I didn't. I thought I was going to be like, if I'd have just ran in the 4.5s instead of a 4.6, like I could have been like the name on everybody's mouth. And I thought I was going third round, ended up going fourth. So as an athlete, as a competitor, you always want more. And for me, it was never like, oh, good stuff, good job. You did. It was always like, man, I should have did better.
For sure. Yeah, I totally can relate to that from an athlete perspective. I remember our like baseball showcase days, and it's like I think my fastest 40 was at like 4.29, which was like blazing.
No
and
way.
I was like, bro, I'm like, I want to get 4.25. or 6'2", sorry, not 4'2". I'm thinking 40, 6'29", not 4'29". That would be absolutely blazing impossible speed. But you always want to do a little better. You always want more.
I say, if
So
you're
I
that fast,
definitely
bro,
feel
we
that.
need to put you in some football pads right now, bro, because you're running a 4.2. Hey, I'm your agent, and we're going to one of these local combines, and we about to put Mike in the league.
You know what's funny is like all the like football players that I know and like grew up with, like I don't know why there's a difference to me for baseball players running 60 yards versus football players running 40 yards. So like, do you have any idea why that is the measurement or why that's the number?
Yeah, just because, well, first off, I mean, different positions, different things matter. Nobody cares
Right.
when an offensive lineman runs a 40 in. What they do care about is the 10. Nobody cares what the edge rusher runs the 40 in. What they do care about is the 10 and maybe even the 20. Nobody cares what the linebacker maybe runs the 40 in. They want to see his 10, his 20, his change of direction. Receivers, 5-10-5, L drill. Each position have different things that matters, but the 40 does matter for wide receivers and cornerbacks because
Right.
a lot of the name of game there is speed, and you will run 40-yard routes. That's about as deep as it gets. You ain't running 50 yards down the field and the quarterback's letting it go. You're at 65, 70 by the time you catch it. So I think that's where that comes from, and it does matter for cornerbacks. If you're a cornerback running a 4.5 and you're guarding, somebody that's a 4.3 guy, Malik Neighbors running a 4.3, then it's tough. You got to have some recovery speed. You don't know where this guy's going. As good as you are, you don't know where he's. That's why the best cornerbacks actually do typically run fast 40s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great point. And like even you just saying that from the football standpoint, like it makes a lot more sense why 60 yards is important in baseball. So if I'm in the outfield, I'm running 60 yards kind of all the time. Like you're running the ball down in the gap. So that makes sense.
And
But
then trying to stretch into a double, it's like,
yeah, for
single to a
sure.
double.
I wish that like when they evaluate baseball players, I wish they did more about like how you ran the bases, because I think there's like speed, but like cutting the corners and all those little things like really matter. There's like a finesse to like getting around the bases, and I feel like
absolutely.
straight line speed is one thing, but like how do you actually do on the bases? But
yeah.
Okay, so all these events: 40 bench, vertical jump, 3-cone, 20-yard shuttle. You can bet all of these legally, which A is crazy and B, I love it. So of all those events, and obviously what it takes to like break some of these records, which do you think has the best chance of getting a record broken this season?
Honestly, I don't think that there is going to be a record broken this season, just because I think Elijah Arroyo was a guy who could have got close because he was that type of athlete. And I think there are obviously some good tight ends, Tyler Warren, Colson Loveland. I really liked Arroyo, Mason Taylor, but these guys aren't like freak athletes. They're just good football players. One guy that I like is the Syracuse tight end. He's 6'4", 245. He's like a big wide receiver. His name is 𝗻𝗏 𝗟𝗏 II. And I think he might go under 4.5. He's not breaking a record like Vernon Davis is 4.3. But I think he's going to run the fastest 40, and that is 𝗻𝗏 𝗟𝗏 II from Syracuse. I think he can go under 4.5. I think he'll have a high vertical, maybe 38, 39. Don't think he's breaking Vernon Davis's 42. Think he'll have a far broad jump over 10. Once again, Vernon Davis, 11 feet. No way. Or whatever the broad jump record was there with Vernon, close to 11. So I don't think the records will be broken. But if you're betting on one guy, I would take Gadsden in every event, because he's just a freak athlete. With Elijah Arroyo not running, I think he's going to run away with everything. No pun intended.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I before we hopped on, I was looking at the Syracuse guy, and honestly, like it feels like he's just like a big wideout. So in your opinion, obviously being someone who ran well and wanted to run better, like, do you get an advantage if you played the position more as like a receiving tight end versus like a blocking tight end, because you're all getting evaluated at the same time?
Oh, yeah. In my class, I got second in the vertical and second in broad jump, but the guy who got first was a wide receiver that basically ran with the tight ends. His name was Dorn Dickerson. He was like a running back slash wide receiver slash whatever, and they put him with the tight ends. He was 220 pounds. He had a 41-inch vertical at 220. I had a 40-inch vertical at 250. It's a difference, you know. If he ran like a 4.45, but you're 220 versus moving a 255, it's a big difference. So you definitely have an advantage if you're just lighter. Heavy ducks can't fly. Heavy birds can't fly. And when you see a guy over 250 that are putting up those kind of numbers, that's when you know this dude's freaking explosive. And that's the best thing about the combine, man, is just seeing these big guys that can run and move. The weight matters. If you're 260 and you run a 4.5, to me, that's more impressive than being 220 and running a 4.4.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, that's why as a fan and someone who had not been there, like, I'm watching these guys like walk around, and the questions that stuck out to me were like, what was your playing weight in college, and what do you anticipate you want to play at in the league? Like, so as the combine comes to a close this weekend, at the end of the weekend, what was the process like after the fact? Like you mentioned you were like disappointed. You knew you could have run faster. You knew you could have thrown up some more reps, but like, as you prepare for your pro day, like what do you tweak? Like, how do you like try and get better in those areas before your pro day?
Yeah, so for me personally, the training, I went to IMG academies, and everybody in our class ran terrible. We had a terrible running coach. It was awful. No start, no technique, nothing. All of us ran bad. And they ran a 4.62. I'm like, this is some BS, man. So I went back to my college, and I got with the track coach, and he started training me. He started taking me through drills, started telling me how to start. And I'm like, I'm just going to listen to this guy. He was from Barbados. He ran in the Olympics. And he would just work with me every day. A great guy. He was Coach Boyce. He's not there anymore, but awesome dude, would work with me, and he got my time down to like a 4.55 at my pro day. But that's what I did. I just went back and I started training with the track coach and just running more routes, because I knew at my pro day I was going to run routes, you know, on air. I got my quarterback out there, and it was a real fun time, because you know you want to improve from the combine, but now your name's getting thrown out there. You're getting all these scouts and people calling you back a little bit more, and then you're setting up your pre-draft visits and what teams really want to bring you in, and you're starting to hear yourself on ESPN. I remember like Todd McShay, like, oh, this Clay Harvey's a sleeper of this draft. You know, just hearing stuff like that was always cool and motivated you a little bit extra. But cool time. Go back, train for the pro day. Most guys, some guys, if they crush the combine, won't participate in the pro day, and they'll just do like maybe some drills, but just kind of getting ready for that year, because when the draft comes around in April, that next week you're going, you know, it ain't you don't, a few days after you get drafted. Back when I was there, it was 2 days. You get drafted, I was in Philly. We were playing football. So it's a quick turnaround. There's really no off season. These guys go from college games to the all-star games, to the combine, to the pro day, to the pre-draft visit / draft, and then you are in minicamp. You're in OTAs.
Yeah, that's crazy. The grind, I feel like, in that period, especially if you're a guy like the Ohio State guys this year, like we spoke to Jack Sawyer, and he was like, kind of hasn't set in because I've just had more stuff coming up, and I haven't really been able to like enjoy it because the next level is like here. So I appreciate obviously your insights. This is really cool for me as just like a fan and someone who's watched it a ton. And I know like people who listen to this who are going to be looking at it from a betting perspective, like it's hard as hell to break some of these records. Like I was looking, like some of them are up since like 2004, 2005, but I'll leave with this. Does anyone get 4-2-0 and beat Xavier Worthy this year?
No, I don't think that guy's out there this year, but there'll be some fast runners in the cornerback receiver room, but I don't think anybody gets close to that.
That's such a crazy number. I remember watching it last year and being like, did I just dream that?
No,
like, because they went back and looked, and I was like, I think he ran a 4.21, and everyone was like screaming. He was running up the sideline, cheering with the fans, but that just seems like
Bond
getting under that.
One guy, not James Bond, Isaiah Bond. If you want to throw some cash down on somebody, I'm checking my notes here, is one of the guys you watch film on this dude. And he's not like the top receiver, but he's 5'11", 180. He's got a track background. Isaiah Bond is being rumored to be able to run of 4.2. I mean, he was a Georgia high school sprint champion. I mean, that's where he came into college as. I mean, the kid,
Another
the guy,
Texas guy, right?
yeah, he ran. So this is his blazing 40 validates the speed that made him the state champion in the 100 at 10.5 and the 200 21.1. So this guy, Isaiah Bond, is a dude that's got that track speed that could possibly get close, but I don't see him doing Isaiah worthy. But Bond, James Bond, no, but I think he has a chance to get there.
For sure. Well, appreciate it, Clay. Thank you for taking some time with me, and we'll see how it shakes out. Maybe we have to get back on here next week if he does break the record, because when I put it out, I'm going to bet it. If I win, we're going to have a party.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
All right, man. Appreciate your time, and thanks again.
Of course.
Huge thanks again to my guy, Clay Harbor. That was awesome. Obviously, this dude knows about as much about the combine as anyone that I've ever met. Supreme ball knower, and had lots of takes and stories that obviously, you're not getting anywhere else. So huge shout out to Clay for hopping on. Really appreciate it. Let's get into some of these bets that I like. I'm not going to spend too much time on them because truly, like I mentioned off the top of the show, this is not like you have a scoop. I don't have a scoop, certainly. I learned a little bit from Clay, but I really think you can lean in here, especially when you look at the FanDuel markets on the records. They have markets for these records. Will they be broken? And they're all pretty standard, right? Like I told you, the 3-cone drill, will that record be broken? That's 6.28 seconds. It's funny to think about that, that hasn't been broken in a while. Also, the 20-yard shuttle hasn't been broken in even longer. That's 3.75 seconds. So all these markets for record breakers on FanDuel are plus 800. Bet $10, win $80. So really fun. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm a sucker for narratives, and I'm a sucker for trying to be on the right side of history. It's very obvious if the records haven't been broken in 10, 5, 10 years, even 15 years. It's very unlikely that these things happen. It does come down to milliseconds, official times, all those things. So beware. You might see something on the screen and freak out, and then they go back and get an official time and it changes. But I'm going to bet these. I'm going to bet these records at 8-1. Will the bench press record be broken? That's, 50 reps of 225. I'll take that at 8-1. There's a lot of big dudes in this draft. A lot of dudes that I spoke to at the combine, and I'll get into it a little bit, but that are really gunning for that record. They want to put on a good show. They want to show how strong they are. So the first one I'm going to bet is the bench press record of 50 reps of 225. I'm taking that at 8-1. Why not, right? The big guys can definitely handle this. Will it happen? Who knows? You're trying to have a little fun with these markets. This is one that I think could be really fun. And if you catch the big guys later in the week, over the weekend, it's such a vibe watching them just like pump out these reps. So give me the over. I need 50 reps of 225. Every time I say it, I'm like, damn, that's a lot. But if it happens, we go home a little happy. So I'll take the over. I'll take yes, the bench press record will be broken. Will the vertical jump record be broken? That's over 46.5 inches. There's some strong candidates for this, DBs and, other athlete types who maybe not have positions locked in that could potentially do this. Again, I haven't dove into all the names and all the intangibles, but another one that I feel like could be fun if you want to dabble. The vertical jump is a lot of fun. That one was broken not so long ago. I'm double checking now. 2005. So I guess a long time ago. I thought it was 15. That was the broad jump. So 46 inches in 2005, safety 𝗵𝗀. So look, athletes are athletes. And I think anyone who's watching knows people are getting more and more athletic as we take this year by year. So I'll put $10 on yes, the vertical jump record will be broken. You need 46.5. It's really flying. This one's more like a long shot, in my opinion. 3-cone drill, not familiar, leaving that alone. 20-yard shuttle, not really familiar, leaving that alone. The one that's interesting that I know you should leave alone, will the 40-yard dash be broken, or record be broken, under 4.21? 𝗬𝗎𝗀𝗧 broke the record last season, and it seemed like it was something that wasn't going to be touched for a while. These guys are bigger, faster, stronger, obviously, than they've ever been. 𝗬𝗎𝗀𝗧 out of Texas had a great year for the Chiefs. I don't know that I would take this the year after the record was broken. Obviously, there's no reason to not. If the guy's fast enough, he will beat the time. There's no reason for the books to kind of cook this. This is exactly the same odds as all the other record breaker markets, plus 800 for yes. I just don't see it. I just don't see it. I don't remember this season anyone of, note that had that extreme burner profile. Again, I don't watch every college football game. It's impossible. So maybe there are some sleepers in there. But 1 year after the record was broken, I don't really see it. This is one that I'll avoid. If you want to bet no, it's minus 1,800. Don't see any value in taking that. So I'll leave it alone. But obviously, we've talked through a lot of bets. I think this is an obvious situation where if you don't really like anything and you just want to watch, fine. I'm going to throw $10 on a couple of these. Obviously, I mentioned the bench press and the vertical jump, the 3-cone and the 20-yard shuttle. Just don't know enough about it, so going to leave it alone. And obviously, if I can win both of them, I come out up almost $200. So I'll take that. Finally, to wrap up, I mentioned it a little bit off the top. It was really, really fun to cover the NFL Combine. I got my credential here, feeling all official. We did get to speak to Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson, not in a one-on-one capacity, but with the other pool reporters from Chicago, which I don't know how anyone else feels, but my first experience being around a lot of the guys on the beat, kind of shadowing Shapiro, was awesome, man. A lot of really good reporters, guys and girls who ask the tough questions and not shy to do so. And, the Bears PR staff was great. They were very detailed and organized. So I had a blast, man. Got to ask some questions to some of my favorite players at Michigan, as well as other players that were really impactful throughout the season, and a really fun time to just get excited again about NFL football. I feel like the NFL football season is a 365 now. In a minute, it'll be draft time, and we'll be talking about those odds. But, just getting to be able to walk around and see some of these players and coaches and, GMs, execs, it's like everyone descends upon Indianapolis and, all business by day and having fun by night. It was a really cool experience for me, first time doing it. So hopefully I get to do it again. Got to see a different side of the NFL that I hadn't seen. I've worked the draft before, but this was a little different. You could tell by the look in a lot of these guys' eyes when they're up on the podium, like this is their moment to increase their draft stock, which obviously increases the amount of money that you can make as a rookie. Really, really, really cool stuff. So wishing everyone that's participating in the Combine good luck. It's very much the lose yourself in the moment, opportunity. You got one shot to really make a good impression to a lot of these coaches who are all in the building at the same time. And they're doing interviews, they're doing informal and formal kind of discussions with some of these teams, and the teams are getting their arms around the guys to figure out what they're about. So really fun experience hanging out at the NFL Combine. And again, hope I get to do it again. So gave out some picks. Again, this is not a week where you should be betting hundreds of dollars on NFL Combine stuff. It's just really not like that. So hopefully the insights that I was able to provide, but more so, thank you to my guest, Clay Harbor, for kicking it for a little while and breaking down his experience and what he thinks. So if you're betting, good luck. If you're not betting, I maybe think you're smarter than me. Doesn't feel necessarily like something that's an A1 betting opportunity, but I'm a DGen. So hopefully we can get some Respect Coin Award winners if these records are broken. And looking forward to a really exciting March. We're going to get very, very deep in the weeds on conference tournaments, first four, March Madness, NIT, all of it in short order because March is here and I'm super pumped to get involved. So I'm, as always, Michael Bolling, and this, as always, Respect Coin. Do not forget, call your people, call your mom, call your dad, call your brother. I got to call my brother. I'm going to take my own advice. But always, always respect the coin.